So hey friends, welcome to this week's video. This week I have two mobile recording microphones that people have been asking about. This one, the DJI Mic, I've been looking to do a review on for a while. I've been using it for my recordings when I need to do mobile stuff, and it's been working out pretty well. But when I got the Anker one, there's some interesting things that made me just feel like, let me just smash them up right now. Maybe videos will come individually about these, but for now, I feel like it's best if we figure out which one performs better and which is better for your use case. So let's go over to some recordings and start the analysis. All right, so let's start out with a DJI mic. This guy is one I've used already in recordings. So if you see me do mobile recordings in my past videos, a lot of it was done using that Action 2 camera, and I've been using the DJI mic as sort of an enhancer to help with those audios. The other thing to note here is that it's actually quite very small. I like how very compact it is. It's easy to carry around. The case it comes with is extremely nice and not too large, so it's very easy to bring into a backpack. So if you need better audio, it's there for you, and everything is nestled in extremely nicely. It doesn't really shake around all that much unless something is outside, like if you don't have all of the gear inside of it. The transceiver is also very nice. So for that one, it works really well with cameras because it can hot shoe on the top. It works really well on phones. It's not too heavy, so it won't slip out. As well as it works with like cameras like DJI Action 2 is perfect for that setup, just because it fits perfectly on the side. It doesn't like sway too much, and I don't have to worry about it being unsecure. So I do like the overall size that they've chosen for the DJI mic, and think it's really good for mobile recording. The other thing that you have here is that these can be used handheld pretty easily. Done this on a couple different reviews as well, and it has a integrated clip. So this clip here obviously can go on clothing. It is a little bit finicky, which we'll talk about later, depending on how you position it, but it does give you generally good audio. And another way to do that is if you don't have a good sort of edge to give you a secure fit, is you can use the magnet that's included. It's just this slab. This is metal, so that magnet can go inside of clothing and clip that way. So if you want something that will be a little bit more secure, if your clothes a little bit more frail or a little bit more flappy, then this will be a better option to use the magnet to give you that audio. The other thing obviously that's here for a lot of these microphones are they have a lavalier connection. I don't have one. I'm still in the market for a lav, but you can connect a lav in here and use this as a side pocket. So if I wanted to connect it, I could have the lav closer to my face, and I could just pocket this really easily. Again, it's so small, super nice to just have that mobile recording option. And if you want like a more specific sound or a clearer sound through a lavalier, you have that option. I'm going to show you guys how far this thing sounds, or how far it can pick up sounds. So let me put this down, and I'm going to inch my way back and see how far you guys can hear me, and see how far you guys can hear me, and see how far you guys can hear me. Excuse me. See how far you guys can hear me. Can you still hear me back here? She's doing work. She's doing work. She's doing work.
Still hear me back here.
She's doing work.
No.
So now we're working at the AnkerWorks, and since I was far away anyway, I figured that I might as well just reshoot this here. But anyway, this is how far it would sound at a distance. You can tell me how this sounds, if you can still hear me, if it's still clear, versus the DJI mic. But now that we have this set up, let's talk more about the AnkerWorks, because there is some differences here while it does have a lot of the same functionality. The microphone itself is obviously a larger footprint, so it will be more noticeable during footage. However, it is flatter, so it will sit against clothes a little bit better from what I've seen. It doesn't get weighed down forward, so I do like that. In terms of the overall form factor, it does have the same sort of clip system, and there's a magnet in there. It's just a little bit more integrated. So if you see here, the magnet actually is within the clip, so I don't have to worry about it as much as like a separate slab like I do with the DJI mic. And not only does it magnetically clip, but it also locks. So if we're to put it on the side here, it's not locked in, but if I clip it, you can hear it. So it's a little bit more secure, so you have a little peace of mind when you're going through. But like I said before, the clip works just like the other one. Clip it to clothing. Sounds really good. Works with your body. The big difference is that this magnet is just going to be part of the clip. So if you have different clothing and you want to use it as the magnet instead, it'll work just as well as the DJI. We'll look at that more when we go into the field. But overall, I do like this clip design a little bit better. Because it has that magnet, it can also be used with accessories. Obviously, it doesn't fit as well with the DJI stuff as the DJI, but you can still be used for portable recording. As we talk about the microphone itself, it does have a lot of different sound options in there, which we'll review later, but they do have more than just a low cut of what the DJI mic has. It has noise reduction at 3 different levels, or 2 different levels, so that you can really get a clear audio, especially if there's a lot of interference around. And right now I have an air conditioning running, so that might be help. I don't have anything on right now, so you might be hearing that. Again, as we talk about size, it's kind of bigger size than the DJI everywhere. So the transceiver's bigger, the case is bigger, the microphone's bigger, and that comes with pros and cons. In terms of the case, it does have a nice sort of big overall footprint compared to the DJI. But the thing is nice is it has this contrasting interior, so it really separates the places. It looks a little bit more luxury. But the thing that I did notice that's different than the DJI is that it doesn't have a hot shoe mount. I'm gonna have to check later if the transceiver in this clip will work with the camera. But if it doesn't have that and it doesn't work, then that's a big fault that they don't have a way to mount this to a camera. But I will let you know if it does here. Anyway. The case is, again, bigger, so it's a little bit less easy to carry around in a backpack, but it's not like tremendously different. I wouldn't carry 2 of these around, but having 1 set of either shouldn't be a big problem, just depending on how minimalist your travel packing is. The big thing with the transceiver that I've seen is that it works for most things. Again, it works with a computer, it works with my phone, all right. It's just bigger, so it does like kind of stick out a little bit more. It's a little bit chunkier, so the security isn't there the same way that the DJI transceiver is. And especially with like the DJI Action Pro, I can only position it one way when I'm using the heat resistant case. So for that particular camera, you need to have a case to prevent overheating, and I can only have it pointing outwards, which means it's not flush with the body, meaning it's kind of wobbly, and it definitely has fallen out. So depending on what you're using it for, you may have issues with orientation.
But it really comes down to how big and chunky the clip is and how it's not removable. It really affects how you can orient this transmitter onto your device. But if I really look at the Action 2, I could remove the case and still have it situated correctly. However, there is some concerns that it could pop out at any point. The obvious remedy would be to redesign the clip similar to the slim and removable style that DJI has. However, an alternative option could be to change the connection point so that it can be swiveled both ways to allow more orientations that could avoid the clip.
So now that we've talked about these 2 cameras, let's go to the field and talk about how this works outdoors.
Setting up here, and we're starting off with the DJI because I'm using a DJI camera. Obviously, this works very well and looks really good with the DJI Action 2. Well, things to note here is that this doesn't really have noise reduction features in the firmware update that I have for this DJI. I'm not sure if they actually have one in future updates, but this is kind of how it sounds. Another thing is, instead of using the clip, I also wanted to use the magnet just to see how strong it would be during a workout if you guys were used to use it that way. Obviously, the clip's a little bit more secure, but it's also less flexible in terms of like how you want to place things. So let's try this with the magnet and try this with the DJI and see how we go. Pardon the allergies, I'm kind of dying. But tell me if you guys can hear all this like bouncing around and stuff. We'll also do agility drills and stuff like that just to see how it goes. But I figure out this is like stress testing. You know, if your subject's moving around a lot, things like that. Yeah. I mean, it bouncing around is not that bad. Clip would obviously feel better for sure. Woo. I always forget that cross rope. Be adding these long segments where there's no rest. So let's try the same thing with the AnkerWorks. So again here, same thing with a magnet instead of the clip. This one has a bit of its strong. Sorry, a little stronger magnet because there's a whole component with the clip, so it's a little bit less cumbersome, and it also kind of locks in place, which is nice. But right now we're on no sound noise reduction. We'll go into like the actual reduction settings later, but for this one, I wanted to keep it equal to the DJI, so let's just go without that and see how it goes. But let's start this workout again. All right. So tell me if you can hear the ropes or if the jingling is getting to you guys in terms of like it being jostled around. I will say, because it's a rounder and has like a larger surface area, it does seem to be like smacking my chest less, because I think the weight is distributed a little bit better. So I don't notice it as much as I'm jump roping. But you guys can tell me if this sounds any different, how it sounds better or worse. And again, we'll go over the noise reduction modes after I finish this workout and talk about that a little bit more. So finished the first part of my workout, but I did want to make sure that we get in a distance. Again, I only have a football field, so if we can go further than that, I'm not going to be able to fully test this, but let's see if this can make it to the football field. I'll just talk to you guys as I run down. This is the DJI, by the way. Let's get some music going. All right. Can you guys hear me? I hope you're still here. That'd be cool. It's getting windy. Probably being picked up on the mic. All right, I'm coming towards you guys. All right. I also realized I forgot to wear cleats. Yeah. So you guys can tell me if that went 100 yards or not. But I'm gonna switch into cleats for the Ankers, because running in these barefoot shoes suck. Let's try this with the AnkerWorks, see if it's any better. Touchdown. 100 yards, a little bit over that. Come back to you guys. My Bluetooth headphones kind of disconnected. Hopefully the microphone stayed though. So much better in cleats. Oh my lord, so much better. Tell me how you guys thought that sound. Let's talk about some of these sound modes. So in terms of sound, you guys have been hearing normal all the time, and this is what you're talking about. This is normal as well. I'm gonna keep switching back and forth. I'll do cuts properly, but so I want you to hear the noise reduction to see if this cuts out some of that wind and other noises that are in the ambient area right now. So I'm gonna switch to low and then go to high after. All right, so now we're in noise reduction low mode. Ironically, the wind just picked up and there's a subway passing us. So tell me if you notice the difference with the low being brought on. And then we're gonna go to high right now. And this is high reduction. Tell me if there's any difference. Again, I'm not sure if this is gonna come through with the manual switch or if I have to reset it every time, but this is me testing it out. Let me know what you guys think. I'll give the thoughts in the final part of the review, but I just can't hear these right now. So let me know what you think in the comments.
So now coming back from the field, I did want to have a little bit more conversation with these microphones with more ideal recording settings in terms of where I am, as well as some of the settings that are on the microphones. I'm currently using an XLR. Both these microphones are connected I'm muting them so there's not a lot of chaos in terms of the connections. But I did want to talk about the things that are done similarly with these microphones before talking about the differences. When I talk about the differences, I will put an indicator at the top corners so you guys know which microphone I'm using and you won't be confused by that. But in terms of what they give you out of the box, both companies give you everything you need to make this your ideal recording solution mobily. They'll give you cables, they'll give you bags, they'll give you dead cats, they'll give you everything that you would like so that you can use this for a bunch of different connections. The thing that I will say about that is that obviously USB-C and Lightning are included. You can use the connection for 3.5 to the camera, but the problem is that I noticed that it's a little bit different in terms of the overall signature. It's a little bit more tinny, less full, maybe just because it's underpowered. But the USB-C and Lightning just seem to be better. Audiophiles probably can tell you this a little bit better, but connecting this to my Rodecaster or my camera did not yield as good results for either microphone as it did just plugging it straight to my computer or plugging it straight to my phone. So I do prefer those for these, and that's something that I would tell you guys you should consider. They do come with a bunch of accessories, as I mentioned, but there's going to be slightly different implementations depending on what you're looking to do. One of those things is going to be the actual transmitter itself. So I'm going to talk about that on the... So DJI. This guy probably has the better implementation of the transmitter. The transmitter is smaller, and it also just ends up being a little bit easier to work with a bunch of different devices. So they use a clip system that is removable, but also more flat and wide for that connection, while the Anker uses a clip which can't be moved, or sorry, clip is similar to that. Sorry, clip. I can't bring it out because the cable's too short, but it's basically a clip that's fixed and I can't move it around. The benefit of that is that the DJI one can be used both front and back. So if you're shooting and you need to see the speaker's levels, you'll be able to see that. But if you're in front of the camera, you can also flip that around and I can see the levels right in front of the camera, which is something that's really important for vloggers, streamers, people, whoever's going to be using it, and when they're going to be in front of the camera and they're the only one shooting it. You can put the Anker's transmitter on the top of the camera on the hot shoe, but it can only be for the person shooting. You won't be able to see it in front. So if I'm doing a roll and I won't be able to see any of my levels because it's only for the back, it can only be positioned towards the back, which is a little bit annoying. The other thing about the transmitter on the DJI is that the DJI one is a lot smaller. It fits really nicely on cameras. It fits really nicely on DJI cameras or action cameras. It fits really nicely everywhere. It's just less chunky. So as a result, it fits closer to the camera and just fits more flush. However, while the connection from the transmitter perspective is really good on the DJI, there are some presentation things with the microphone itself on the Anker that I think that you guys might prefer. So let's talk about that. So on the Anker, this guy is obviously a little bit different shape. It has a wider surface area, and it's as a result, they kind of look the same, but just the way that they taper and everything, it does feel a little bit slimmer on body. And that wider surface area is just super good for keeping it close to body. So what I've noticed with the DJI is that if I'm just like moving around or I'm wearing floppy clothing or looser clothing, it's just gonna flop forward, and then the microphone's no longer facing my back or facing my face. It is now like out there towards the audience. So it just depends on what you're wearing and how rigid your clothing is, but this one seems to be behaving a little bit better, as we saw with the active fit as well as everything else. Again, you have options. You can use magnets and whatever for both to make it fit better, but just because it feels more slim and it's wider, it just seems to work that better. The other thing that's nice about this microphone is that the lights are just a little bit less evident, and that might be an issue for some people, but if you look at these both together, like if I put these kind of flat towards you, it's hard to see the lights on this one, while it's very obvious to see the lights, especially if you're muted. On the DJI, you just have like a whole like Christmas light up set, but for this one, if you're muted, in reality, the only one that you'd be able to see is the one that like is if you are wearing it potentially. But for your audience, they won't be able to see that. It won't be as distracting. So I think that's something to keep in mind when you're trying to present something. You just have a little bit more of a light show with the DJI, and some of you guys may like that for like awareness sake, but you may not like it for just overall presentation. And finally, with the Anker, they give you some, again, presentation options that are nice in terms of giving you not only matte black faceplate, they give you matte gold faceplate. They also give you an emerald green one. Again, there's different colors for the white version of this, but I like having the differentiation here because, you know, I can coordinate with the person's clothes, or I can differentiate between speakers, things like that. Just making sure the audios are staying separated and differentiated is always nice. Just having some customizability is always lovely for these things, especially because there's gonna be these microphones straight in your face. While this is a little bit bigger branding, DJI's is a little bit more utilitarian. Depends on what you're trying to go for, and again, the lights may bother you. The good thing about these lights, though, is when I swap back to the DJI mute button, it does vibrate, so that affirmation feel is really good. So if you click it on accident, you'll feel it. You'll see like it. Oh, what happened? Oh, I went on mute. So it's very nice for that. I haven't found an option for that in the transmitter for the Anker microphone, but the DJI microphone has that. It's thought out of the box. It's relatively strong. It's not like overly powerful where you'll hear it, but it's just enough where you know something happened or you're in the wrong setting. So it's good for awareness sake on that front. However, some other things, again, when we go back to accessories, is that the Anker's accessories are a little bit more integrated. What I had a problem with the DJI was that they have a dead cat, but I lose those all the time. While they're cheap and easy to replace either through the DJI directly or third party, the clips just are a little bit dainty and fragile. So I can clip it in there and it'll work, but sometimes they'll slip out depending on my motion, and sometimes I'll just lose them because they're so small. The other issue that I've seen through forums is that sometimes they snap off, which is not ideal, and it's just because that connection point is a little bit weak and very, very tiny. But when you look at the Ankers, it's this more, you know, you have to literally insert something and it clips on, so it's a little bit more steady in there. And it's more integrated in the body as a result, so it stays and is less frail. So if I put this guy on, it goes into the loud spot, and then yeah, and it clips in really nicely. It fits like flush to the body, so it's actually part of it. So I don't have to worry so much about it falling out, and it's a deep connection point, so it shouldn't break. I mean, it would be an issue if I snapped it off, obviously, because it's inside the lav and it's non-magnetic, so I wouldn't be able to pull it out very easy. But you shouldn't have an issue with that because it's all like kind of integrated into the body. So I do like that the accessories are better here. If we switch back to the Anker or the DJI, the thing that I noticed here about the audio is that I noticed a little bit more natural tones, I would say. I definitely would say that the Anker is a little bit louder and more clear. Saps out a lot more noise, you know, usable for a lot of people. But some people that have been used to like XLR microphones or nicer microphones might know this tone a little bit. And that's kind of what I saw initially out of the box, is that without any tuning, just straight settings and with low cut on, this guy on the DJI sounds a little bit more natural. It has some more natural tones that will bring out those characteristics. It's very subtle, but if you listen to them side by side, I think you'll notice that there's just some gravitas or just more character to it, rather than if we go back to the Anker, which will sound clear due to the noise reduction, and it'll sound louder, I think, even when on similar volume settings, but there might be a little bit of tone difference. So you guys can kind of tell me which one you think is better. But overall, if I was to pick one, if I was going to pick between the two right now, sound only, I'm probably going to go with the Anker. I think it's overall just better for what I need it for. The noise reduction is really good. How it feels on body is really good. It seems to be a little bit more consistent around the board, while the DJI sounds a little bit more natural. There are some times, depending on how I'm connecting it, it'll bring in some tinny or digitized sound, which I don't appreciate. So the consistency just seems to be a little bit better on the Anker. So that's just my initial impression of where I would go with these. Both of these are great options. I don't plan on selling this one. I might just keep this at like Samika's house so we can do recordings there as well. Or maybe just make one a travel and one at a home thing. But overall, just package and sound, I'm probably going towards the Anker just because of how usable it is and things like that. So if you're looking to buy one, I'm leaning towards Anker. But if you guys have any questions, definitely tell me. I can do deep dives on the individual microphones themselves. Again, I've been trying to get the DJI one done for a while, but when this one came through, I was like, I might as well just smash it up and help people make a decision. But yeah, if you have any questions about these, I can do more deep dives on individual microphones. So just let me know what they are and I can put that in the new video. As always, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this probably longer format video. But if you could, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you normally do on a video that you like and love. And I'll see you guys very shortly. As always, appreciate you. Peace.